I'm so sorry. I've been promising to dive back into Berserk for the past couple of months. I'm sorry, okay? I find Berserk so scary and intimidating that even though I'm so excited to read it, and I absolutely loved the Black Swordsman arc. Well, I gave it 7 out of 10, which I think is great. But I loved the story, that's the main thing. Even though I loved it so much, I'm so scared by it. Honestly, I'm just intimidated by it. I look at the deluxe editions that I impulsively bought, and they scare me. So I have been meaning to get to the next arc stat. Now is the time. I'm going to be reading the first part of the Golden Age arc. And when I say first part, another thing I was debating was how am I going to structure the Berserk videos going forward, because the first arc was very short, so I could just do it chapter by chapter, and I kind of want to keep doing the chapter by chapter thing. I enjoy doing it. It helps me to remember things after I finish the chapter. I can review it and stuff like that. But also the Golden Age arc is like 102 chapters long, and I wasn't sure when to like stop it. And you know, I got some great feedback and I got some great answers from my question of where do I break up the Golden Age arc. But I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm just going to go by deluxe volume. So I'm going to read the entirety of the second deluxe edition in this video, and that's how I'm going to approach the coming videos. I know that's what Daniel Green does, so I think that's probably the easiest way for me, and it doesn't feel as intimidating to me for some reason. I don't know why. So I do have one chapter of the deluxe edition volume 1 to read, which is the first chapter of the Golden Age arc, and then I believe this one goes up to chapter 16, although actually I might go to the first chapter of volume 3, which is chapter 17, and it's called Casca Part 3, so I might just do that. Yeah, why not? Let's just do that. Which I know is probably not ideal. It's not like the right cutoff for the first part of the Golden Age arc, but it does mean that I am less scared. That means I can actually do these videos. If you are new to my channel, I am reading Berserk for the very first time, so please no spoilers. Either chapter 16 or 17. I will put it on the screen where I actually get to in this video, so please no spoilers after that, because I have no idea what's coming, and I'm already a little bit lost myself. I thought I got a goodish grip on the Black Swordsman arc, but then I realised through comments that I did misinterpret some things. I wasn't entirely sure on characters, character names. I was a little bit lost, I'm not gonna lie, but I still enjoyed it, and I think it was still a pretty decent video. So I'm gonna do my absolute best in this video to try and understand what's going on a bit more. Pray for me. If you do end up enjoying the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already for more Berserk. Leave all the comments down below as well and just chat Berserk to me, and I always appreciate when I get corrected on things. If I get something wrong in the video, please feel free to correct me in the comments down below. So yeah, I think it's time to stop delaying reading Berserk and get into the Golden Age arc. Oh my god. Okay, this was why I was kind of worried about coming back into Berserk, because wow, that first chapter of the new arc, it doesn't waste any time, does it? It really doesn't waste any time. I mean, from the very beginning, from the very first sort of big title page, like, this is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. And even just like the bit before that with all of the people hanging from the trees, and also one of the people, a woman with an umbilical cord coming out of her and a baby on the floor. I was like, okay, this is how we're starting this new arc. Wow, I absolutely adore, and I will say this in every single Berserk video, but I absolutely adore the art style. The art style is gorgeous. Gorgeous. It really fits the world. And just the hanging corpses, some of them are skeletons. So I'm just like, I mean, there are a lot of, I think, vultures maybe in the trees, so they would have been picked dry. But it just, oh my god, the imagination that you have to put into this scene alone. I mean, Miura gives you enough of a visual to let you know what's gone on here. Have all of them been hanged at the same time, or were some of them hanged like years before, and it's just like a sort of hanging tree that people keep coming back to hang people. But then obviously like the baby has been born from a corpse, and it's guts. And it's Guts. So I guess the Golden Age arc is a look into Guts' life before the Black Swordsman arc, like before he becomes the Black Swordsman, I imagine. His name's Gambino, and his men, there seem to be just like a travelling group of people, of of mercenaries, I think he said. And yeah, he assumes the baby's dead, and a woman called Sis, I think, she picks up the baby, and the baby's alive. The baby is alive, and I'm not sure the panels with the baby, because you do see a little Winky. But already the world is so unforgiving. We go 3 years later, and the poor woman who ended up saving Guts, she gets the plague. And I wasn't too sure what Guts was going to do here. I wasn't sure if he was going to go up to her and kill her, like to put her out of her misery, or what. Bless him, like, he is a little cute thing, but like he just has a little bit of a mischievous look on his face there. So I was like, is he going to kill her? Is he going to kill her, like, to put her out of her misery? Because, I mean, she does look in pain. She very much looks in pain there. But no, he comes up to her and holds her hand. And, you know, we get that kind of sliver of Guts' personality from the original, like, arc, the first arc, where he seems very closed off from everyone. He's like a hard shell of a person. And every now and then he did have a glimpse of humanity within him. And I felt like even just from that moment alone, like when I wasn't sure what he was going to do, I questioned myself. I was like, what is this kid going to do? Is it because he was born into the world from a corpse? Does that automatically make him somebody who is a shell of a person kind of thing, and he's protecting himself? Or is it something that he learns? And I feel like now, because he does, you know, come up and holds her hand, and that's really sweet, I feel like after reading this first chapter and seeing his relationship with Gambino, I think he might have taken a lot of personality traits from Gambino, because Gambino himself, I mean, he wasn't there for his wife's dying breaths. Or, I mean, was it his wife or just his girlfriend? Or you think a man would be with his woman in her dying moment? So, I mean, it might not be a wife, it might just be like a girlfriend kind of thing. But yeah, like, he wasn't even there for her death. So yeah, so I'm starting to see through the first chapter where some of Guts' personality probably came from. And especially at the end, oh my god, I'll get to the end in a minute. But a theory that I had in the first arc video seems to be proven right so far. At least I think. I mean, if it goes any further, it's ending on a cliffhanger. No, I can't talk about it right now, but oh my god. Yeah, Guts is growing up. We are moving through his, like, childhood, really. He isn't speaking until they say, hey, you've got too big a sword. Why don't you get a sword that's more your size? And he's like, no. And I feel like because the sword is such a huge part of him, I love the fact that that was the first time that we, though, as a reader, really saw him using his words. He's a man of very few words. And I already love the way that he's being portrayed. Like, I didn't realise that we would go straight back in the past after the Black Swordsman arc. You know, starting off with Black Swordsman, we're in probably like the present day timeline or whatever, to go back into the past for the Golden Age arc. It was like very sudden. Not that I'm complaining, because I am so glad that we get to see this. Yeah, his struggles as a child, the way that a lot of the people around him are saying that he's a bad omen, that he shouldn't be with them, he's putting them at risk, is, you know, so damaging, especially since I read One Piece, right? And this happened to, I'll not say the character in case you haven't read it, but a certain character was told that they shouldn't have been born and things like that. So that kind of trauma that you give to a child is awful. So I can see why, like, even from just this part, I could see why he was very reserved in the Black Swordsman arc. So he is training with his sword, he does feel very attached to it. And yeah, we get to his first battle, it's great, he kills someone, and he's told to move on. So there's a lot of disconnect from, I guess, regular human emotion from the very off. But then, and I'm not going to show any of the panels of this end bit, we have someone called Donovan come up to Gambino, and Gambino turns around and he's like, something I can do for you, Donovan? And then it goes into Guts at night. He is, again, a child, and he is in his tent. And we have, I don't even want to show this, I'm not going to show this, Donovan go into his tent and grab Guts. And I had a theory, like, maybe it gets stopped, maybe nothing happens after this, I'm probably jumping ahead, but my theory in the first video was that when, I think it was Puck who tried to touch Guts, but Guts had this really visceral reaction to being touched. I was like, I think maybe Guts has been sexually assaulted in the past. And I think maybe if it's Bloody Donovan, I swear to God, he's my most hated character ever. Because that's just awful. That's just, he's a child, and he goes to reach for a sword as well to protect himself, and Donovan stops him. He's a child. He's a child. What a sick, disgusting man. And again, like, we start off the chapter, we start off this entire arc with people hanging from a tree, and Guts has been born from one of the corpses, to then having this end the chapter, I'm like, oh my god, like, this is just one chapter. Oh my god. You know what, even if Donovan did come up to Gambino and got Gambino's permission, which he doesn't have the permission to give to do that to Guts, why would Gambino do that? Like, would Gambino not look at him and think, you disgusting piece of filth? You know, like, oh my god, like, characters in Berserk, I swear, like, this has taken all of my emotion already. Oh god, I need to read on to find out what happens next. And I'm sorry if this format of a video doesn't really work for you, because I am going chapter by chapter, so I probably will talk about theories for the next chapter and stuff, and, like, I have no idea what's going on next. So there's going to be like a lot of back and forth, I guess, with my thoughts and feelings and what I think happens. So I apologise for that if you are not a big fan of that kind of vlogging style. These chapters just do not get any better, do they? When I say better, I mean lighter. As in, there is a sort of light at the end of the tunnel here. Which, again, I know Berserk is not the series for lightness or anything very sunshine and roses. I know this is not the story for that. I'm just so surprised by how quickly we're thrust into that. And what I do like about this, though, is the fact that we have swift justice for a couple of the awful characters that I mean, I was conflicted about Gambino in the first chapter until I learned that he actually sold Guts. And then there was that moment of hesitation where I was like, did he actually sell Guts to Donovan? Because even Guts was questioning it. And it wasn't, like, explicitly stated by Gambino, because Donovan does say, hey, I paid for you. But when Guts asks, well, he doesn't exactly ask Donovan about it. He's too, I guess, embarrassed, and he feels so much shame from what happened. But the fact that Gambino's, like, so oblivious and he just acts like nothing happened does indicate some innocence potentially from him. But I knew all along, because we did see in that panel where Donovan asked, hey, I have a favour kind of thing. So I did know, but like, again, there was like some doubt too. And Guts was very doubtful because he wanted to see the best in Gambino. I feel so bad again for Guts. Like, this arc, what it's doing for me so far is, well, the Black Swordsman arc painted Guts in such a unlikable light, and since starting this arc, I just have nothing but compassion for Guts. And I was a little bit reserved on Guts in the first arc because I could see a lot of hurt, so I didn't want to just be like, oh, you know, he's an unlikable guy, he's an asshole, stuff like that. He acted like an asshole, but I didn't think he was an asshole. But the stuff with Donovan just made me feel physically sick. It did. It made me feel so physically sick to see Guts in such a vulnerable state. It's honestly one of the worst things in the world. I hate it so much. But what I do love, though, is that we got swift justice for this action. I hope it was fucking worth it, Donovan, because I cheered. I screamed with joy when Donovan got an arrow through his chest, seeing that it was Guts getting his revenge just as he deserves, getting another one through the mouth, and then a sword through the face. I freaking love that. I love that so much. It gave me hope. I mean, obviously it's awful because I think Guts is, what, like 9 or something at this point? We have 2 years later. Yes, so he's 9 at the time it happens. And then we do have like a battle going on and Gambino loses a leg. And again, I thought that was rather justified too, because of the fact that he sold Guts. And again, like, Guts doesn't really know that at the time. I mean, he was told, but he doubts it. Fortunately, at the end of the chapter, we do find out solidly that Gambino did sell him. And the awful things that he says to Guts, he's 11 at this point, because it's like 2 years later. And Gambino's lost the ability to be able to fight on the battlefield, which, justice. It's justice. I love that. I love the fact that this didn't, like, drag on. Both people who were complicit in what happened to Guts, they're out for the count. I mean, Gambino lost his will to live, almost, I guess. Like, even though 2 years has passed and he does seem to be fine, he has a dog and whatever, it's obviously not what he was built to do. It's not what he loves, and he wasn't able to do what he loves, which was being on the battlefield and stuff like that. He's probably seen as a weaker man, especially since a couple of people joke about him. But Gambino blames Guts for what happened to him. He blames Guts for being a devil child, a cursed child, bringing a dark omen to them. Even though Guts looks up to Gambino, Guts is so in awe of this man. and just trust him complicitly, even when there was that small sliver of doubt. Guts, I guess, didn't really want to believe that because he saw Gambino as a sort of father figure. Or at least, like, that's not exactly explicitly stated. It's just how I sort of interpret it. And I feel awful the fact, because when Gambino actually went into the tent where Guts was like this, I thought, we're not going to do this again, because I thought he was going to abuse Guts like Donovan did. But no, he just wants to kill him. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad because I could not have went through that awful thing again. I mean, not that I'm glad that he wanted to kill Guts, but I'm glad he didn't want to do the other thing, you know? Honestly, just saying that he should have died 11 years ago. I love this panel. I love the fact that we have Gambino's face and then we have the sort of flashback with like the trees and the people hanging from it. Like, that is like wonderfully done. Again, the use of darkness and shadows to really emphasize that that's in the past. And also the shadows and the darkness around Guts that isolates him from everyone else. You know, he really is on his own. Even though he's with people here and he had Gambino as a sort of father figure, he is on his own. Honestly, has no one. He has no one he can trust. And especially since the line, "you should have died," that is what is encapsulating him in darkness. I feel like those words is what is going to carry Guts throughout his life. These are the words that's going to stick with him, that he shouldn't be born. And honestly, the heartbreak that Guts has and the way that he's crying at the end there, he honestly looks a little bit like Puck, you know, like Puck from the Black Swordsman arc. He looks, you know, so innocent and sweet like him. And like, this is like the moment that really breaks all of that away. Like, he has probably lost the last shred of innocence that he had. Any shred of hope and light and positivity that he had is gone in this moment. And the way he's crying, it's just, oh, it's heart-rendering. It really is. And that is the end of the second Golden Age chapter. Oh my god, like, how can we get any worse? Like, it's so dark, but it's what I signed up for, so I can't complain. But Gambino is a piece of scum, Donovan was a piece of scum, and I'm glad they're both dead. Unless Gambino survives that sword to the neck, but I doubt it. Yeah, I genuinely feel like there is some of the most beautiful panels I've ever seen in this chapter. Yeah, like, I'm so glad Gambino's dead. I'm so glad. He deserved it, 100%. Obviously, that meant that Guts would get chased out of these mercenaries, the people he's with, even though he's been with them for 11 years. But honestly, thank God. I really needed him to get out of there and find some better people to be with. When I say that this is one of the most beautiful chapters I've ever seen. Firstly, I love this panel. I love this one. With Guts running away from, well, I guess his family, really. Like, they were essentially his family. They even said that Gambino was like a father to him. And even though he wasn't a great father at all, especially after what he did and sold him to Donovan, like, that was a line that was crossed and could not be crossed back, if you know what I mean. Like, there was no redemption. Anyway, I love that. The fact that we have someone who is with the people, I don't really know his name. He is, you know, part of the mercenaries who's been with him for this long. And he's like, he's an evil omen. And his face is like in the sky, while Guts is running away from the scene because he's just killed Gambino. And he's on a horse and it's like lightning. It is like thunder and lightning. There's rain, a cursed kid who's nothing but bad luck within that. It's like, this is beautiful. I love that. But that's not the beautiful part. That's not the beautiful part of this. It's when Guts is shot with an arrow, he falls down a cliff. But then we start getting into, like, it feels like we are... I feel like it's hard because I'm sitting on a chair that keeps rolling. I need it to stop. We have, like, everything seem to sort of slow down for Guts. And it's represented in the sky here, and there are so many stars in the sky, and it's reflected in the river or the lake or wherever it is that Guts has landed in. And then we come to this. This is gorgeous. This is absolutely beautiful. You see how huge and dark the sky is, but look at all of those stars. You know, is that like all the little, like, even though it's like a dark world out there, there is still light. There is still light around there. Like, what is this symbolizing? Maybe it symbolizes nothing. It's just a beautiful piece. But it's just gorgeous. And then seeing the stars reflected in the water that Guts has landed in. Gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm just in awe. And also, I'm still kicking myself that it's taken me this long to get back into Berserk. But also the loneliness and how lost Guts feels right now. It's beautiful. He's like, where do I go? Like, what do I do? And it just shows you, like, this world is huge. This world is massive and unforgiving, as we've seen. Especially since he then ends up getting, you know, approached by some wolves. Some wolves come and he has to... Well, at first it looks like he might just let himself die from the wolves. But it's almost like the sword has a personality of its own. I might be reading too much into it again. Guts is like, it's over, this is it. He looks like he's given up. It looks like he has given up. When one of the wolves jump up, even Guts is like, eh? And the sword is in the wolf. It's almost like the sword doesn't want Guts to die. It's like, this isn't the end of your story. We need to continue on. But I don't know if maybe I'm reading too much into that. But I just feel like Guts' confusion that the sword is in the wolf when he expected to die kind of makes it seem that way, maybe. And then I guess he does kind of get his will to live again, because then he does end up killing some more wolves before some more mercenaries come and save him. Either way you look at it, it does seem like maybe Guts is maybe lucky because he did escape and these mercenaries found him. So maybe that is some kind of luck, but also he has had rotten luck so far as well. Like, he has not had the best start in life. Oh god. 4 years later, he's 15 now, and more fighting. And I love seeing the evolution of Guts. He is getting older, he is getting stronger, a lot more cocky as well, I guess. We have this huge guy called Bazuso, and Guts is like, I want gold to take him down, like, I will kill him for you, but you need to pay me for it. Soldiers want glory, but I want to get paid. It's a bit like influencers, how people get paid by exposure or money. It's like, I want the money, I don't want the exposure, I want the money. And then, yeah, Guts fights him and kills him, which is awesome. It really does show you how Guts is putting his foot in this world. Like, I want to mention this, but this panel here with Guts, the way it's blacked out and he only has his eye visible, this reminds me of when he fought all of those corpses, like all the reanimated skeletons in the Black Swordsman arc, where we had that amazing panel, one of my favourite panels, where he is... Well, Guts is sort of like in the distance and he's jumped up and he's about to kill some of these skeletons and his face is totally blacked out, but you can sort of see his eye. I love that we have that there. So like, what happens in that moment when he's about to kill someone? Does something else come over him? Does Guts kind of disassociate himself with the actions that he's doing so that it almost feels like someone else is doing it? Well, I love it. I love it. I just kind of want to dissect it a bit more, you know what I mean? I know some people said in my previous video, you know, you can put the book down. I kind of don't want to. I don't want to. The feel of it is amazing. I love the weight in my hands. It feels like, well, almost a comfort to actually hold it physically like this. So, I mean, I have probably had it down more in this video than my previous one. Yeah, I just, oh god, it's so good. It's so good. And I've barely scratched the surface of this arc. We've met Griffith before, haven't we? I think we have. Wasn't he like one of the God Hands or something in the Black Swordsman arc? Maybe I should have reread the Black Swordsman arc before this. But I seem to remember Guts didn't like Griffith. He was like a sort of enemy. And they are enemies in this chapter as well, actually. I mean, just judging off the end of it, I don't think Griffith wants to kill Guts. I mean, Guts kind of does want to kill Griffith. He just wants to kill anyone in his way, really. Especially since the people Griffith was with wanted to attack Guts and rob him. But really interesting to see those people and like how easily Guts takes him down. But then as soon as he is approached by Casca, he is so surprised that she's a woman. I kind of already really like Casca. Like, she seems really formidable and she really puts up a good fight. She actually does better than the other people who are in the group. And I'm interested to find out more about the dynamics between this group and like what they actually do and how they got together, stuff like that. Although actually Casca, to me, she looks a little bit like Guts. Like, would you not say? Like, with her hairstyle, it's very much like Guts. She's like the female version of Guts in a way. You almost can't really tell between these two. I mean, you can. You absolutely can tell. But say you were squinting, they do sort of seem like the same person-ish. I don't know about that, but she does look very Guts-esque. But Griffith seems very chill. He seems very laid back. He seems totally different to, at least from memory, from how we met him in the Black Swordsman arc. He's just like lying down, chilling on his back, just sunbathing, I guess. And when the other robbers are like, hey, let's teach him a lesson, let's kill him, let's rob him. And Griffith's just lying back, just like, do as you will. He's just like so chill. and so cool. But really, really, really interesting character though. I can't wait to find out more about him. Griffith and Casca, I feel like, are two that I'm very interested to find out more about. Like, how can you not say that Griffith looks cool? Like, he just looks so cool. Okay, I'm going to say it right here, right now. I think Guts and Griffith have fantastic chemistry. I'm saying it. Even when Guts is like, are you a homo? And Griffith's like, well, Griffith doesn't even answer. Is he? I don't know. But it is hilarious. I can understand why Guts doesn't like Griffith to begin with. Because, yeah, the whole superiority complex. Which, in a way, Guts also has. So, they're kind of clashing because they're so alike. And the way they fight is very incredible. But, I mean, Griffith is just... The way he fights, I never thought Guts would meet a match like him. And this is like almost twice now that he has met his match with Griffith. So I really enjoy their dynamic. I felt awful for Guts at the beginning as well because, you know, he had been defeated by Griffith. But he seems to be having a sort of nightmare, which I'm sure he did have. Well, he has nightmares in the first arc as well, doesn't he? But I thought that was because of the brand that was on him. And he doesn't have the brand on him right now. So this is just a nightmare of what happened in, well, chapter 1, chapter 2 of the Golden Age arc. And then we have Gambino literally sitting there watching. And it's brutal, absolutely brutal. I'll not show any of it, as I think it's probably just a little bit too much. We have Sis, the woman who saved him, as the dog that Gambino is stroking. But then also when Gambino like shows his throat and he like lifts his head up and he it's disgusting. But I think maybe there's a lot of guilt that is crushing Guts as well because he's apologizing to Gambino in his nightmare. But like he shouldn't feel any remorse if you ask me, especially since Gambino is still shouting, you deserve to die, you don't deserve to live, you should have died, stuff like that. It's like, again, reinforcing the insecurities, I guess, that Guts has. But yeah, that does lead to Guts waking up, and it's revealed that Casca had to like lie with him for 2 days in order to keep him warm. I don't really know what to think about that, but Casca does punch him in response in response to having to have done that. But yeah, I really like Guts and Griffith together. I think they make such a good charismatic team almost. Like, I feel like Guts has more personality with Griffith. Like, just the way he just is, like his facial expressions. Are you a homo? And it's just like the way he's sweating. Yeah, he's honest. He just bounces so well off Griffith, in my opinion. It's just like kind of funny, almost endearing and innocent-like to have Griffith want Guts in this way. I don't know, I feel like he just wants Guts because he's a great fighter and Griffith has kind of met a match in Guts. So I feel like that's it. I don't think it's anything romantic. But now they're fighting. Guts says he'll put a hole in his chest if he wins. And if Griffith wins, then he will be his soldier or F-boy or whatever. So there's a lot riding on this. And again, what's incredible is the panel of Griffith standing on Guts' sword. It really does show again how amazing Griffith is as a fighter. Like, no, this panel right here, incredible. Like, I love that. I love that so much. But yeah, Guts puts the sword in his mouth. He puts the sword in his mouth and that's so odd. Even Griffith is like, wait, what the fuck you doing? Like, that's so weird and so odd. But again, this is a bit of an odd world, isn't it? It's just, okay. Like, okay. Looks like it's gonna rain, so I apologize if the lighting goes really weird and really dark. I apologize, I'm using natural lighting. It was another good chapter, and I can't believe that Griffith did actually beat Guts. I mean, part of me does believe it, because I do feel like Guts, when we see him in the Black Swordsman arc, is really powerful and really strong, and maybe the whole point of the Golden Age arc is to show us Guts when he isn't the most powerful and isn't the most strong. So it was kind of cool to see Guts lose again to Griffith. It just makes me so much more interested in Griffith as a character. And as well as that, I'm kind of glad that I read the Black Swordsman arc first, because to see Griffith as one of the God Hands, or whatever it was that he was, and how much Guts hated him then, I'm like, what happened? What happened between them? Like, what happened to Griffith to get him to that place? I'm so interested about Guts as well. Like, how did he, because didn't he lose an arm or something? Like, he has a sort of fake arm that he could shoot things out of, and he has the brand on him. I'm sure one of his eyes has been sliced or something. Like, there's so much intrigue that I am getting from this, because nothing's been addressed just yet in terms of those questions that I have from the very first arc. So it's incredible. But yeah, it was cool to see Griffith and Guts continue to fight, especially since Guts did have Griffith's sword in his mouth. Ew. You don't know where that sword's been. It's been in people. That sword has been in people. It's killed people, and you're gonna have that in your mouth? Like, does anyone think of infections? I don't think so. I am interested to find out, like, what Griffith's true intentions with Guts are, because it does seem like he just wants him to be part of their group. What are they called? From now on, he's one of the Hawks. Now Guts is part of it, and I don't think everyone's happy with that. In fact, I think the only person who is happy with that is Griffith. Even Guts isn't happy about it. But, you know, he's a man of his word, apparently, so he has to do it. Casca is so interesting as well because she stopped some other mercenaries from killing Guts in his sleep, even though Guts was not asleep. Like, she still stopped them from doing it. And she says it's just based on Griffith's orders, and I believe her. But she's also like, when Griffith said to Guts, I want you, Casca's like, he's never said that to anyone. So I'm wondering, is there like some kind of triangle thing going on here? Is Casca in love with Griffith? Or like, does she just want Griffith's full respect more than anything else? Is that what she's after? But Guts is kind of like getting that straight away. And, you know, it's taken her a longer time to get his respect, maybe. I don't know, but like what I do love is that we are getting these more interesting characters outside of Guts. We end the chapter as well on a night raid on a enemy encampment, I believe. So yeah, Guts is well and truly in on this group. I really like the whole full double spread panel there. That's pretty cool, with Griffith sort of leading the charge. But yeah, now Guts is part of a hopefully better mercenary group than the first one he was with. That was a really quick chapter, and honestly just so nice to see Guts almost be brought into this brotherhood type of situation, and people do actually like respect him and like him despite his bad attitude, which they bring up, and it's just so hilarious to see. Obviously when, I think his name was Pippin, picks him up, Guts is like very resistant, but he really gets into it, and I love seeing that. I love seeing Guts kind of let down his barrier a little bit, but there's a part of me that's a little bit scared of that happening, because I can just imagine as soon as Guts allows any happiness in, that's when something tragic's going to happen and knock him down a peg or two. Especially since this world seems so intent and so hell-bent on knocking Guts down onto the ground and kicking him. That just seems to be the MO of this series. But I love that we started off the Golden Age arc with like at least the Golden Age chapters. So that was part 7 of the Golden Age chapters, and like from the very beginning we just had Guts continuously being beaten down and beaten down and beaten down, these tragic things happening, and now we're at chapter 7 of the Golden Age chapters, and there's some happiness, like a slight light at the end of the tunnel maybe. It's really good. It's really good to see that, and it's kind of a nice change of pace from previously. We do have the battle, the night raid that was happening continuing on in this chapter, which is why I don't really have a whole lot to say, because when, like even with One Piece, when I'm reviewing One Piece, when there's just a battle happening, I mean, it's amazing to watch, but not a whole lot to talk about within it. So really the only opinions I have on this chapter was just how much I loved Guts being sort of integrated into the mercenary group that he's with, and to see them respect him and like him despite his flaws, which I wouldn't exactly say were I mean, yeah, he is a bit of a dick, but like you can't blame him. You really can't blame him. But nice to see him putting down a wall almost. But again, there's a part of me that's like, something's gonna happen and it won't be good. This was the last of the sort of prologue-y chapters, I believe. The last of the Golden Age chapters, but still loads more of the Golden Age arc to come. Yeah, like some really interesting stuff, especially about Griffith. And it does plant a lot of seeds of what his character might be, but also kind of not, because he seems to have like two sides to him almost. And it's great because, I can't remember her name, is it like Judo? She says, how would I put this? Just when you think it looks like he's got some strange wisdom, he seems like a kid. Just when you think he has a spine-chilling look on his face, he smells innocently like a baby. Is he a child or an adult, a good guy or a villain? I don't really know what he is, but something about him is different from us. And yeah, like this is what makes Griffith so interesting. I can't put my finger on him as a character. Like, is he a good guy? Is he not a good guy? Because sometimes he does seem quite sinister, but then looks so innocent in the next panel. It's just, yeah, it's incredible. It's so great, and it's what I love about this Golden Age arc. What I think it's doing better than the Black Swordsman arc is character work and how it's portraying the characters and the intrigue I have for the characters. It's so good. And I love the fact that Guts is letting his hair down, kind of, like, not exactly because he doesn't have that much hair to put down, but, you know, they're having fun with Griffith. Even though Griffith does still say, "You're mine," like, you belong to me. I feel like as much as friends that they might become, I still don't think Griffith owning Guts is something that Guts is going to ever be comfortable with. And it does rob Guts of some of his freedom. I had to make myself a coffee, you know, getting all comfortable and cozy as it's raining. It's great. Like, this is the perfect time to read, is when it's raining and you have a nice hot cup of coffee. Anyway, sorry, that was so irrelevant. Saying that though, I did love the sort of water fight between Guts and Griffith. Even though Griffith was like absolutely naked for the entire time of it, it was a little bit odd. But no, it allowed, I guess, the symbolism of that would be that Griffith has let go of every inhibition that he has and like the restraints of clothing almost, to be so exposed to Guts that it does give us a sense of maybe we should trust him. He has nothing to hide, which I feel like he has so much to hide. But I feel the removal of the clothes, the exposure to Guts, it's like, yeah, he's showing us so much of himself, but yet there's something else under his skin, almost. You know what I mean? It's I don't know if I'm reading too much into that. But we do get the friendly, childlike banter between them and the playfulness between them too, with them throwing water at each other. So funny. And what made me really laugh as well is when Guts is standing in front of a door and then I think it's Rickard, he opens the door and he falls into the water and he's wet again, and then he gets out of the water and then Pippin opens the door, and you know, it's just like so farcical and so funny that it's so nice to see that, as opposed to how we started the Golden Age chapters. Saying that though, we did get the Behelit that is around Griffith's neck. I remember the Behelit from the Black Swordsman arc. It was like this little egg thing with a face, and it was so odd and really disgusting. And that tiny little thing is hanging around Griffith's neck. And that's intriguing because at the minute, it doesn't seem like Griffith is the person who we saw in the Black Swordsman arc. And I think he was a god hand. Griffith did mention something about it. Whoever possesses this is destined to obtain the world in exchange for his own flesh and blood. So it does look like maybe Griffith gives up his humanity, his body, to be the person he becomes in the Black Swordsman arc. I don't know. But then you look at his face and again, it's just like so innocent and nice. And then the creepy eye opening as well is just, these are the visuals that I loved from the Black Swordsman arc. It's like the really grotesque and disgusting visuals that we got from like the villains, the enemies that they had, which is something that I feel like I've lacked from the first 8 chapters from this arc, is that we haven't had the really outwardly gross character designs or the villain designs. But now that we have the Behelit come back into it, I feel like maybe now we're going to start seeing more of that grotesqueness that we saw in the previous arc, hopefully. I mean, it's not a bad thing that it's not present right now, but I love those visuals, so I really want them to come back, and I have hope that now we have the Behelit kind of brought back into it, that we will get more of, well, hopefully what that means, but also the gross illustrations of some really creepy ass monsters. It's funny because even after all of these years, Casca still doesn't like Guts, but at the same time she won't, you know, sink too low to kill him, even when somebody else offers, which was probably a bit of a joke, but even then she'll still defend him because her loyalty to Griffith is just incredible. She really is so loyal, and I really respect that in her. Not a whole lot to say. We did have more battles and they were good. Loved, again, the artwork and the art style of it, and the fact that the Band of the Hawk, that's what they're called, that's what the group is called, how feared they are among the people, like the Grim Reapers of the battlefield. And the fact that Guts has been with them for this long, I think it's been, what, 2 or 3 years since the previous chapter, like since he joined. And I love the fact that he has been so incorporated in such an integral part of the band, the Hawk of the band, the Band of the Hawk. It makes me so happy for Guts. But again, a sense of dread to know that something obviously happens to change all of this. But Griffith is getting a knighthood because he helped save the kingdom, I guess. So he's getting a knighthood. It's a dream of his because he always wanted a kingdom of his own. So I guess that's what he's going to end up getting and striving towards. Yeah, Guts isn't there for the ceremony. I don't know if that's going to create conflict or not. But yeah, great chapter again. Nosferatu Zod. Now this is what I'm talking about. You know how I literally just said about the designs and how I want like grotesque and grim? It's come back full force. It's like I asked for it and it immediately got delivered. All of the corpses on the floor, and like even when Guts is walking through the corridor, like bringing back that gothic castle-like style. Oh my god, it's beautiful. Really dark and nasty, but brutal and beautiful. And yeah, so there's like this Nosferatu Zod, who is almost like a fairy tale, like a myth. And it's a myth that's been perpetuated for, I think they said like 100 years. So it's like an immortal fairy tale of this person, this guy, this big guy. He's unstoppable, he kills people and he's on the battlefield, and then he's not. And then Guts is going to fight him. And after Guts has been kind of, I mean, he has won some battles in the Golden Age arc so far, like, yes. But as soon as he came across Griffith, I thought, oh, maybe he's not as strong as I thought. And he is still strong, don't get me wrong. But I've seen him lose a couple of times before this, and I'm not 100% sure that Guts will be able to defeat this Nosferatu. And I just love the idea of Nosferatu because let me double check, but I'm sure there was a horror film called Nosferatu in like 1922 or something. Nosferatu. Oh my god, I even got the year right. Wow. But it's a really iconic horror film, right? It's an adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. So that explains the name of this Zod person. If he's some kind of like vampiric legend, immortal, and can't exactly be stopped, does lend into that fairy tale monster-esque kind of being. Love that. I love that so much. But it looks like Guts is like in the shit. I mean, look at him. Look at Nosferatu Zod. He just doesn't look all there. He looks like he's just a reanimated corpse that's just killing brutally with no thought or feeling. He just seems so cold and just awful, but it looks amazing. It looks so good. I don't think I mentioned this before as well, but Guts is in charge of his own sort of little gang within the mercenaries. Like, he has his own men, and yeah, he's a leader, and he tells them, I want to fight this guy on my own. But something tells me he might need some help. Maybe not though. Maybe he can prove me wrong. But so far in the Golden Age arc, he hasn't really been the strongest. He has been strong, but not the strongest. So it'll be interesting to find out if he actually can defeat this Zod person. Oh my god, this chapter was so short, but you know what, quite effective. I didn't think Guts would be able to do something that powerful, but he does end up getting through, or like breaking through Zod's sword, and even getting his sword inside him for a bit before Zod like kind of blocks it with his arm. Amazing, like amazing, because Guts like used his brain. He was like, okay, so it seems like the swords are evenly matched. So what can I possibly do? Because this guy's like the strongest person I've ever fought. Like, I thought Griffith was amazing, but this guy is something else. So I genuinely was like scared for Guts, not gonna lie. But the fact that he used his brain on this, and even Zod mentioned something about it, like, oh, you dare try? You dare try? Like, he recognizes what Guts was about to do. So like, what a like really clever and smart thing to do. Not that he's defeated Zod yet, and especially since Zod is sort of transformed now into like this weird creature thing too. Like, almost looks like a minotaur, almost, I think. I might have gotten my mythological creatures mixed up. Wow. Wow, well that was just so quick and so short of a chapter. I didn't realise these chapters could be so short. It's called Nosferatu Zod Chapter 2, so like the number of chapters must be all dedicated to fighting this beast. So there's Nosferatu Zod Chapter 3, so the fight's still going on. But no, interesting. I'm glad that Guts managed to use like his brains a bit more rather than just using like brute force, and he has more skill. He really does. So good to see that. Whoa, look at that. Like, that is intense. Intense. Like, even though these chapters are very short at the minute, the art, the action is still mind-blowing. Wow. Wow. Okay, I'm glad that Guts didn't get I mean, obviously he wasn't going to get killed. He was about to be torn apart by Zod. It did not look good for him, but then Griffith comes and helps, shoots a whole load of arrows in his back. But even, I guess, Griffith realizes that they cannot win this fight right now and tells them to draw back. But I feel like they can't just leave, like at least Griffith and Guts. Casca had this look on her face as well when Griffith was like, Casca, tell everyone to fall back, everyone just retreat. And then Casca's like, Griffith, what are you? Sees that he's gone over to Guts to help him. And she just has this like forlorn look on her face. Is it jealousy? Like what is that dynamic there? I worry that something bad is going to come from this. I mean, Casca's been so well at keeping her emotions in. Like, I haven't seen her act outwardly. I mean, she's butted heads with Guts, yeah, but the distaste that she must have for him because of the attention that Griffith gives him must be overwhelming. So her keeping that in check is rather amazing, unless I'm reading totally wrong, which I wouldn't be surprised at. But yeah, Guts is embarrassed because Griffith is there to save him. And I'm sure Griffith will end up defeating Zod. Okay, I think now Casca hates Guts beyond repair now because of the fact that Griffith only got into this situation because of Guts. At least she is pinning the blame on him. Saying that though, they are both fine. They did have a little bit of a brief scuffle with Zod, and then Zod sees that Behelit on Griffith's neck. I don't know if he's scared or not. That does look like fear in his eyes. I mean, to be fair, it is a freaky looking thing. Like, it's still disgusting to look at, but he says it's the crimson Behelit of the God Hand, and then gives Guts kind of a warning that this friend of yours, when his ambition collapses, death will pay you a visit, a death you can never escape. I wonder if that is a reference to the brand that is on him, because death does constantly follow him once he has this brand, and it won't let him go. Like the demons and everything that are after Guts in the Black Swordsman arc is because of this brand. So I wonder if maybe that has something to do with Griffith and the Behelit, the crimson one. But at least Zod kind of like flies away and escapes, because it did look like they weren't really going to beat it. I mean, they do get some more hits in, and they take his arm off, but then Zod promises that they will meet again one day. So it'll be so interesting to see if he does come back in the chapters that have already been written, because Zod was a really formidable foe, especially since Guts seemed unstoppable when I first read Berserk. I just love that we've kind of broken him down a lot more in this arc so far, so that I can really get a look into him as like an actual person. So one more chapter and then that's volume 5 done. Yeah, I thought Casca would come to a boiling point, and she ended up punching Guts, which I'm not surprised at. And I feel like Guts also kind of knows deep down why she's reacting the way she is, because she does call him a mad dog, doesn't care about his comrades if he keeps putting them in harm's way, even though he does in his own way. Like, she doesn't understand him as much as, like, probably Griffith does. She only sees the reckless side of Guts, whereas Griffith, I don't know what Griffith says. I mean, Griffith says, like, an honest-to-God amazing person, because Guts is, in my eyes. But even, like, at the end, when Guts asks, like, why he put himself in harm's way, because that is such a careless thing to do. He's like, do I need a reason each time I put myself in harm's way for your sake? I don't know. I don't want to say it. The thing is, though, I hope there isn't that much romance in Berserk. I really don't. I would rather it be all about the action, the adventure, the gothicness, the darkness. I would rather it be about that. But it does look like there is a very interesting relationship between Guts and Griffith that nobody can really explain, and it doesn't seem like Griffith can even explain it. And Griffith does seem to be changing as well. Even Casca is like, he's been drifting, and I think it's going to end up coming to a head when we get him to be part of the God Hand, or whatever that really means. So they're just recovering from Zod's attack essentially in this chapter, but that is volume 5 done, and now on to volume 6. We're getting into some like royal political intrigue now. Like, what I love about this arc is that we've had a little bit of everything so far. So I wasn't expecting sort of like court politics to come into this. When I say court politics, I don't mean like proper politics, but we have the king, and he's very thankful to Griffith, and we'll have the king's very jealous brother Julius. And Julius is a very proud man. He hates the fact that Griffith is a commoner who can talk to him on the same level. So we have a lot of like classism, I guess, or I don't know, like some kind of elitism from the royal brother, which will probably come back to bite people on the butt, because Griffith's men are probably going to be part of the autumn hunt or something like that, the king does. Whereas Julius's men are usually the ones who are the, what was it mentioned as? The king's guard. The king's guard. Because this random and weird man comes along and tells Lord Julius about the king's plans to have the king's guard be Griffith and his men, rather than the White Dragon Knights who Lord Julius commands, I guess. And he is a right little shit stirrer, just feeding into Lord Julius's hate on Griffith and his men, leading up to, what if a stray poisoned arrow hits them during the hunt? It's like, what are you trying to do? Why are you stirring the pot, you ridiculous old man? I kind of like it though. It really does add to the drama. But why? Like, this is like core politics, isn't it? It's just like so much backstabbing, so many plots being plotted. It'll not go well. I feel like it'll not go well. Maybe Griffith will end up killing Julius and then get out of the king's favour. I don't know, so many possibilities. Guts has declared that he will use his sword or wield his sword for Griffith. He is all in, I think, on his relationship with Griffith. Griffith himself has noticed a girl called Charlotte who is the daughter of the king. He seems to have his eye on her. I don't know if it's sexual attraction or if he just sees Princess Charlotte as a way of him getting his own kingdom, because again, that was like one of his big goals in dreams. And I don't know if maybe he sees Charlotte as some kind of like political thing, like a leg up in this world. So I don't know if he's actually attracted to her or not. Although Guts does smile as if he's thinking, yeah, bro, get it. Definitely a more common chapter, especially since we get the king, Julius, and the politics of the royal family, it seems. Oh my god, the arrow actually hit Griffith? I thought it was going to hit Charlotte instead. I genuinely thought throughout the entire exchange between Griffith and Charlotte, I thought, you know what, I bet you it's going to end up hitting Charlotte instead. And she'll end up dying and the king will be like infuriated by it. Like, that's what I thought was going to happen. But no, it actually hit Griffith. But like, what's going to happen now? Although, saying that, could it have hit the Behelit? Because of the position of it, maybe? I don't know if you can see, but that's probably round about where it would be on his neck, right? I don't know. It was actually so very sweet, the scenes between Griffith and Charlotte. I think he teaches her to whistle with a leaf, which I think that's what he's doing. There's like a musical note next to it. And like he's showing her and it's just, it's kind of sweet, you know? And it does seem like maybe they are a good match, maybe? I don't know. Because we already know Griffith becomes a god hand and seems to be a sworn enemy of Guts, it's like, can't be happy. Like, we can't have them getting together and being a happy couple or anything like that. So what in the world happens? Yeah, this entire chapter was just about the autumn hunt and Guts thinking it's a waste of their time, him having to be checked by another person in Guts's like party. You know, the most interesting thing to happen was that Griffith got hit by the arrow. What? Okay, I knew that the Behelit would be the thing that would save Griffith. I knew it. I knew it would have pierced the necklace and not him. So we're all good. But that does mean that Julius, who orchestrated the whole thing, ended up making Griffith look more like a hero because it seemed like the princess was the actual target and Griffith inadvertently saved the princess, apparently. So I love the fact that that backfired. Like, what a silly plan anyway. But I am waiting for the moment where Griffith snaps and becomes terrifying. And it looks like that moment might come because when Julius is contemplating the whole scene, he does say that him and Griffith locked eyes for a moment and it seems scary. It seems so terrifying that he can like look at him and pierce his soul almost. Especially since Julius is like, oh, there's no evidence, nobody knows it's me. But that look that Griffith gave him, there's just something there. There's something there. I love this part with Guts and when he goes to see Griffith, Griffith is reading and Guts is like, bleh. And then Griffith shows them, it looks like some kind of Kama Sutra book or something, like something with loads of different sex positions. And then Guts actually sits down and starts reading. It's like, yeah, reading sucks unless there's porn to look at. So that's essentially what this chapter was, just dealing with the aftermath of Griffith getting shot with the arrow. Them knowing it's poison, but it only hit the Behelit, so it seems like it's fine. And then we end the chapter with Griffith saying, I'd like you to kill a man for me, to Guts. So maybe Griffith is asking Guts to kill Julius, maybe? Maybe. He honestly would deserve it. I don't like Julius. He's an arrogant arsehole and death would be kind. Guts has just bloody made it worse, hasn't he? I love how Griffith's like, make sure no one sees you. Someone sees you. To be fair, this is probably Guts' first assassination. And even Griffith says it's like, it's dirty work, you know. They're used to fighting people on the battlefield and like men and stuff like that. Whereas an assassination is, yeah, definitely dirty work. But hey, you know, that's exactly what Julius tried to do to Griffith. So you fuck around, you find out. And that's exactly what he found out. So yeah, Guts ends up like bisecting him or like getting his sword through his torso. But then bloody Julius's son says, and oh, it was kind of sad because Adonis, who is Julius's son, was being worked to the bone, and he's only young, but he's being forced to, you know, fight with his father, and his father's training him. And it definitely reminds me of Gambino and the way that he was with Guts. So for Guts, I feel like a lot of those feelings came back to him, and a lot of resentment towards Julius from his own kind of experiences. So he probably felt some sort of affinity to Adonis, and like sympathy too, potentially. And then Adonis says, and I don't think Guts, oh my god, this chair, oh my god, this chair is honestly annoying. And I don't think Guts knew that it was Adonis or the child. I don't think he knew it was him. He just saw a figure, thought that it was someone, but I knew as soon as that door opened it would be Adonis. But Guts is like, I've been seen, and then rams the sword in them, only for this child to be pinned against the wall. And Guts does look very, very surprised, and most likely mortified at the fact that he's killed a 13-year-old boy. Oh god, he's just made everything so much worse. I can imagine the king is not going to stand for this. The death of his brother, the death of his nephew, well, the murder even, because this is murder, plain up murder. How are they going to get away with this? Oh my god, Guts, what have you done? It's incredible how much Miura can pack into a very short chapter. Guts, he's a terrible assassin. He's a terrible assassin. He got caught pretty much straight away, although they think he's just a robber. They don't actually really see his face. But as soon as he's killed Adonis, he holds his hand, which was so sweet. But yeah, then a couple of soldiers come up and see it, and I'm just like, oh my god, leading to Guts having to fight them too. He runs out, gets attacked, he falls into a sewer, where he has a sort of like nightmarish vision, where he is a child, he's fighting Gambino, as a sort of reflection of Julius and Adonis, leading to the huge monster that looks like Nosferatu. His face being revealed as Guts. Like, Guts is the monster. Guts is the monster in this moment. I love the parallel there. I do. It's a beautiful metaphor. But I don't know what Guts is doing now, because he's been injured and he's hurt and stuff, and he's just walking towards Griffith, who is with Charlotte. And he's just walking so casually. He's going to tell Griffith in front of Charlotte that he killed Julius and Adonis. What is happening right now? Yet again, we have some beautiful artwork, and definitely in relation to the narrative, just the way that Miura has been able to weave the two together to paint this beautiful, beautiful picture, especially since what Griffith is saying to Charlotte is to do with like dreams, and having dreams and being born as someone without a dream and just living is boring to him and not ideal. But then when he says, what I think a friend is one who is my equal. And then we do have this panel of Guts all the way down here. There's a sort of spotlight on him. And then there is Griffith, who is all the way up here. And they don't seem very equal to me. And I love the way that this panel really demonstrates that. And I think it's such a cold wake-up call for Guts. Because Guts and Casca are both overhearing what Griffith is saying to the princess. He's saying a friend is someone who would never depend upon another's dream. Someone who wouldn't be compelled by anyone, but would determine and pursue his own reason to live. And honestly, it does seem a little bit like Guts doesn't really have his own reason to live. Like, I don't really know what Guts' overall goal is, or if he has a dream. He is just living, and he is just enduring the world that he's in. And I don't know if this is something we'll explore with Guts as a character. Like, is he just there to endure, or is his dream something more? Is his overall goal, his overall mission something more? Because still, Guts is a mystery to us. Or to me anyway. He's still quite a mystery, just like Griffith is. And Charlotte is saying, sometimes you seem like the friendliest person in the world, and then the next, you know, he's totally different. It's so complex. And I don't think my little brain can handle it. I don't know if I'll be smart enough to peel back the layers of Griffith and understand him as a character, or if I'm even allowed to. Does Miura allow me to see Griffith below the layers of Griffith? Especially since he seems so charming. Someone comes and tells Charlotte that there was an assassination on Julius and Adonis, and then we have Griffith standing there with that wicked smile on his face. He did that. He got Guts to do his dirty work. I'm just in awe of the parallel between Griffith and Guts and the way that Miura is depicting it. Because again, at some points, like the previous chapter, I thought they were like definitely equals. And now I'm like, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. Literally, what Griffith says here, ultimately to be born and to then simply live for no better reason. I can't abide such a lifestyle. And it's literally, the next panel is Guts. Is he describing Guts right now? I think he is. And I think Guts is realizing that as he's standing there listening. Wow. Maybe Casca has caught on to the fact that Guts assassinated Julius and Adonis, because Casca is with Guts and she's watching him leave. So maybe she does have some kind of theory now that it's been mentioned. And she is very alert and attentive. So honestly, the story is just going off in directions I just didn't predict. We are really getting scary Griffith again. That eye, it's literally just an eye. It's just an eye, but Miura illustrated it so beautifully that even I'm getting a chill just looking at it. And thank God he is as well, because he is a right little shit stirrer. Honestly, he's worse than me. I think he was trying to get information from Griffith to see if he would give up the fact that he would be behind the assassination attempt on Julius and Adonis. But he doesn't get what he needs from him. And then, yeah, Griffiths walked away, and then I don't know his name, the bald guy who is the shit stirrer. I'm just going to call him the shit stirrer. He sees that Griffith is standing watching him, just watching. Oh my God, he's terrifying. Like, Griffith is actually terrifying. Like, he can be so beautiful one minute and so innocent and childlike, and then in the next, I'm terrified of him. I need close the book because that's actually really scary. That was my main takeaway from that chapter. That and the fact that Griffith and everyone are leaving the castle onward toward a battle. What battle, I'm not 100% sure, but Charlotte has given Griffith a memento to kind of bring him back to her. And the Queen is so beautiful, actually. Like, I mean, she's not my type in the slightest, but I can really recognize her beauty. Like, she is absolutely stunning. A bitch, yes. An absolute bitch, yes. But stunning. And I'm starting to see the cracks show between Guts and Griffith now, because it seems like Griffith's words, what I think a friend is one who is my equal. It looks like those words have really bothered Guts. Like, you can tell by the way he looks and he's thinking about it that it's really stuck with him. While it seems the Griffith and Guts relationship might be breaking down, I think the Guts and Casca appreciation is starting to blossom. I do feel a bit bad that Casca didn't defend herself against that sexist pig. What did he say? He was like, it was a mouthful. This big guy here, he says, I, Adon, head of the Blue Whale, ultra heavy armored, fierce assault annihilation night corp. What a mouthful. You know Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones? It's almost like that whole list of accolades and names that she gives. It's just a bit too much, Adon. You're doing a bit too much. He's overcompensating, I think, the amount of titles or words that are in his own title. We got a small dick, bro. Is that what this is? But yeah, the sexist stuff that he was saying to Casca. I was hoping she would be the one to knock him down a peg or two. But yeah, that doesn't happen. Hopefully she does get back up swinging, of course. And I feel like the next chapter is called Casca Chapter 1. So maybe we'll get more about Casca. Maybe we'll get some like backstory on her. That would be awesome. But yeah, big battle going on. I don't know if there will be too much character stuff, especially when there's a lot of action going on. There's not usually a lot to talk about. But I am hoping for some Casca backstory. Right, okay, so yeah, Casca wasn't great on the battlefield, and it seems like she might be menstruating, I think. I was shocked when Guts and Casca fell off the cliff, though. That was extreme. But it has meant that they're now in a cave, and Guts has to use his warmth to keep her warm. So he is sort of repaying Casca for what she did when he first came into the camp with the mercenaries way back when she had to use her body heat to keep Guts warm. So it's kind of a circular thing there with Casca. It's kind of nice. I believe Griffith is going to choose to continue on with the battle instead of sending someone after them, because right now it is important that the enemy gets defeated. But Guts and Casca are in a bit of a pickle, so they just need to persevere to get through this. I mean, I can think of worse ways to spend a battle. Being in Guts' arms, literally in his lap, with his arms around her, keeping her warm. Lucky bitch. I got my wish. I got to learn more about Casca, got more of a flashback with her, and how she came across Griffith. And honestly, it's a tale that's almost similar to Guts's. Fortunately, she's saved before anything happens, but it does show you that men are scum. A lot of men are scum in this world and only think with their genitals. Because this nobleman buys Casca from her family, and it's just so heartbreaking with her being a child to see herself as a burden on her family as well. It's awful. It's absolutely awful. Yeah, she was sold as a castle maid, but then is pretty much attacked by the guy who buys her almost straight away. And I'm not sure the actual panel where he pretty much undresses her. Like, that's just so awful. But then Griffith comes, he gives her the sword so that she can defend herself. So she does save herself, but Griffith gave her the means to do that. So we see why Casca has these feelings towards Griffith. He gave her a second chance, a new life even. He told her to do what she wants, and she asks to go with him. And it's great, especially since there's a lot of sexism in the world, of course. You know, these men are looking down at these women and calling them girly and women, like their place isn't as a warrior, they can't be good warriors. Even Guts is a little bit sexist every now and then, especially since he's like, this is why women ain't cut out to be warriors. But I feel like Casca's doing such a fantastic job of proving that she is, even though on the battlefield she wasn't her true full self. And even Guts said that. He said, you're not yourself right now. And he knows that she is a great warrior. He knows that she's strong. But we do regress into the sexism of the world, which is, I think, explored really, really well. And because Casca's such a great character, and he's such a complex character, that I feel like Miura is definitely tackling that head on, showing us that women can be warriors, you know, and the way that men underestimate her, she can hold her own, she really can. So at least I got my wish there of getting more of Casca. I believe there is one more Casca chapter, which is why I'm continuing to read that so I can close out the Casca chapters. And I finished Deluxe Volume 2. I will be starting Deluxe Volume 3, which I think is the start of Volume 7. So it's not the end just yet. Oh my god, the scene of Griffith in the lake washing himself, and you know what I mean. Do I subject you to seeing that? Yeah, I do. You guys have already seen it, but when he's like his hands and his nails are in his skin and he's scratching himself. Oh, it's ugh. But oh my god, like this world, like it seems like a lot of the men in this world are perverts, for one. They're ruled by sex and a desire for young boys. It's honestly such a grim and grotesque thing, and not something I was expecting going into Berserk. It really wasn't. But it kind of ties back to what I said about Griffith and Charlotte a few chapters back. How Griffith was, well, I felt like he was maybe using Charlotte in a way to get a leg up in the world, to like get one step closer to his dream. And again, like the constant reminder of dreams and achieving dreams and the goal for dreams is brought up again in this chapter with Griffith. And when he allows himself to be used by the nobleman who has a thing for young boys, Griffith explains that they had a shared interest. Griffith needed money for the war efforts and for his troops and things like that. And the disgusting bastard wanted Griffith. So Griffith is the kind of person I think who will achieve anything by any means necessary. And again, he is like kind of scary in that sense. But it's an awful thing for him to have to go through as well, because I mean, he's still human, right? Like, he's still a human. And what he must have gone through in his life is heartbreaking. In this scene as well, when the young boy is dead on the battlefield and he has a little toy soldier, and Griffith says, maybe my dream is what killed this boy. Because the young boy would look up to Griffith, almost as if Griffith was a hero to him. So is this what drove his eventual death because of the way that he saw Griffith. It was a very solemn moment, as Casca said. Like, she's never seen Griffith so solemn. And honestly, just the way he is, I've never been more intrigued by a character ever, I don't think. Like, I was intrigued by Guts in the Black Swordsman arc. Don't get me wrong, like, I was so intrigued by him and his story, and I wanted more about him. And I still do. I still think Guts has more of a story, and I can't wait to uncover more about him. But Griffith is like, who is this man? Can I trust him? Can I not? Is he bad? Is he good? Like, what? But I did love seeing more of Casca's flashbacks as well. Guts listening to her, listening to the story. I mean, I don't know, like, when they'll reunite with Griffith, if Guts will still have these feelings about the whole equals conversation, or if Guts is going to be forgiving of what Griffith has been saying. I don't know. I don't know. I think that's the last Golden Age arc chapter I'm doing for this video. I will be doing more because I want to read all of the deluxe volumes, of course. So I've started deluxe volume 3, read the first chapter so I could finish off the Casca chapters. So I will get into the rest of deluxe edition 3 in the next Golden Age arc video. So in this video, actually, I'm really glad that I finished volume 1 and then read all of volume 2 and started volume 3. So that's a lot of Berserk, and I don't know why I was so worried about starting it up again. I've loved every second of it. I really have. It's definitely grotesque and grim and depressing, but the story is, oh my god, chef's kiss. And the characters have been so amazingly developed, in my opinion, since the Black Swordsman arc. Like Guts, Griffith, Casca, I've just loved learning more about them. They are so good. They are so good. So it shouldn't take too long for me to read more of Berserk. I feel like now that I've kind of ripped the band-aid off with this arc, because it was so intimidating because of how big it is, I feel more inclined to read on and be more excited for it rather than scared by it. It still scares me. I'm still scared of what's coming. It's going to be incredible, I just know it, but it's still intimidating because this is like all brand new to me still. Even just the manga format is brand new to me still. But hopefully this was still a good video for you guys to watch. Hopefully I didn't get too much wrong with my interpretations of it, and hopefully you guys can forgive me if I did get some things mixed up. I'm sure the more of Berserk I read, the more of the world I will understand and the characters. So I love it. I love it, and I love the fact that Kentaro Miura has such an amazing story that he managed to tell in what I've read so far. And it pains my heart even more now to know that he has passed away. The more of his work that I'm reading, the more I appreciate him and what he's done with Berserk. And this is just like the start of the story, essentially. We still have so much to go, so I hope you stick around to see more. But that is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to leave this video a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave all your comments down below. Let's chat Berserk. Nothing past Golden Age, well, chapter 17, I think is that I just read. No spoilers past them, please, but I would love to chat down below with you. I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons and my channel members. If you'd like to join my Patreon or my One Piece channel membership, then all the links are down in the description box. But yeah, I hope I will see you in the next video. Bye!